Could your vote in the local elections on the 1st of May next year be taken away from you? That's the fear of the local government reforms announced today by the Deputy Prime Minister. My name's Tom Harwood, and this is GB News Originals. Now, everyone accepts that the situation and the patchwork of local government in England in particular and the UK as a whole is a mess. You can have local authorities that are made up of district councils, county councils, unitary authorities, metropolitan unitary authorities, or even your metro mayor combined authorities. You can also have combined authorities without a directly elected metro mayor. The list goes on, and just about wherever you are, particularly in England, you'll have a different and confusing level of government, local and wider. This is a concern for many. It's not particularly efficient, and the recently elected Labour government wants to go around changing it. Of course, the Conservatives in power wanted to change it too, but it was a very slow process of introducing these metro mayors, signing individual deals with individual authorities and building it up over time. It appears that the Labour Party is taking a different approach, a much faster approach, a perhaps more top-down approach in terms of how issues are resolved and indeed what our local government situation looks like. Today, Angela Rayner has announced that the district council level of local authorities will be abolished. Indeed, many powers will go higher and there'll be a wider rollout of those metro mayors. Many communities that have metro mayors think they have been a great success in their local area on all sides of the political spectrum, although there are many who point to failures of other local mayors. What is clear in this reorganisation is that metro mayors will get many more powers over construction, powers to levy levies on developments. Now, they always call them levies, but we know that they're taxes. That's, of course, a less easy way, a less politically palpable word to sell. Tax versus levy. But clearly there will be more powers delivered to local authority mayors, to those metro mayors, I should say. But because there is this widespread reorganisation of local government taking place, some are saying that those local elections due to take place on the 1st of May now simply can't go ahead, particularly for many of those councils that will be undergoing complicated renegotiations. Perhaps these elections will be delayed until the following year. This has caused a huge deal of controversy, because it's not just the case that there will be reorganisation of local government. You could make an argument that perhaps that means a delayed election is needed in some situations. But isn't it a coincidence that the Labour Party is now trailing in the polls? Is it a coincidence that some of these elections may now be delayed once the Labour Party has fallen from a 20-point lead to, in some polls, being in literally third place behind the Conservatives and the Reform Party? In fact, the Reform Party leader, Nigel Farage, has issued a statement on the possibility of delayed local elections. This is what he said: "Cancelling elections in some areas of the country where reform are gaining momentum is the act of a desperate government. They have the audacity to call us a threat to democracy, whilst they act like third world dictators." Nigel Farage there, of course, referring to the words of Harriet Harman over the weekend, saying that reform is a threat to democracy. Well, this will be the inevitable response from many people who are perhaps doing better in the polls than they were, that want to consolidate those gains in terms of real seat wins on those local elections. Many of those insurgent parties will feel that it would be a very damaging thing indeed, at just the time that these parties are rising in the polls, elections are delayed, denying those newer parties the opportunity to create groundwork for yet another year. That has profound implications for those that might be minded to go out and campaign for parties. If you're already a local councillor, you're much more likely to go out and knock on doors and organise and rally people around you to do the same than if you're not a local councillor already. That if you don't have that infrastructure behind you, well, that could delay the rise of certain parties that haven't historically had large representations in local government. It'll be fascinating to see how many more party leaders have words to say about the potential delaying of these votes, the potential knocking back for a year when people can vote in their local elections. Is it, as the old saying goes, democracy delayed becoming democracy denied? Well, that, of course, will be an open question, and it could be that the polls are even worse for the Labour Party after yet another year. Or it could be that some of these elections scheduled for May the 1st do, after all, go ahead. But what we've learnt today is that the Labour Party, a party that has experienced a dramatic collapse in public popularity, have opened the door to delaying local elections for potentially millions of people across England. That, to some, is concerning enough in and of itself. Well, we'll be keeping a close eye on this one at GB News. The right to vote is the most precious right in a democracy. We have seen elections delayed before. Famously, in 2020, those local elections were all delayed by a year thanks to COVID. That gave Sadiq Khan an extra year as Mayor of London, although then the next term was curtailed. This is, of course, also something that we saw under foot and mouth. The election of 2001 was delayed not for 1 year, but for 1 month. We also saw elections delayed over the period of the Second World War. Huge events, pandemics, near pandemics, and global conflict. Some might ask the question, is local government reorganisation really at the level of those election delaying events? Well, I've been Tom Harwood for GB News. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and remember to subscribe to the GB News YouTube channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain that you love, and for the values that you believe in. We are your fearless champions, but we need your support. From just £5 a month, you can make sure that your views are always heard. GB News is the only news channel with the courage to say what the silent majority are really thinking. If it matters to you, it matters to us. Join thousands of members and become part of the GB News community today. Go to gbnews.com/support.